Today, I was navigating the wonderful world of, you guessed it, Twitter. Something showed up in my timeline that I never considered was a thing that didn't happen to people, or that people just naturally didn't do, or I guess experience, because it's something that's so normal for me, and I always heard people saying similar things. It never computed that an inability of such a thing could exist. The original post comes from someone called Ask Amy Collins, and she says, I just learned that people can actually hear songs in their head. I burst into song randomly so that I can hear the song I am thinking of. You folks can actually hear music in your head? I thought that was just a figure of speech. What is worse, I am a musician and I had no idea this was real. Hashtag mind blown. So basically what she's saying is anytime we say, oh yeah, I got this song in my head, she didn't realize that people actually hear the beat and hear the vocals. The entire musical piece is actually replaying in their mind despite a device not serving as an output. That's something that I undoubtedly do. Another thing that fascinates me about this is the voice in my mind when I talk to myself or when I mentally read to myself is not the same as the voice that I hear through my cranium as I produce sound, and those vibrations are just continuously emanating in my head. The way that I sound when I put out a video is never what my head voice sounds like as I'm physically speaking right now. That always shocks me because I think that the voice that I hear in my head as I produce the sound is significantly better than the sound that actually plays back at me anytime I'm editing a video. And that's why for the longest time I would cringe at my voice. And when I heard myself in a voicemail I left for someone else, I had no earthly idea that I sounded exactly like what my mom sounds like over the phone. And then I understood why one of our cousins, as we spoke to him on the phone and he wasn't used to my voice because he had never really heard it before, at my current age, he was like, I cannot tell who is who. I can only tell by a slight variation of speed, but outside of that, yeah, I'm that person. The only thing that I've been struggling with in recent times, and I think it's because I don't sleep so well, it's dreams. But I have the craziest of pictures vividly come to mind anytime I read something. Even if it's a simple thought by somebody else, there is a little bit of a movie that plays in the background for me. It's like I picture the words that I'm reading as if it were a movie playing on a screen. By extension, the way that I write, especially writing in my journals, when I read what I wrote, I can picture exactly what that thought looked like before I wrote it, as I wrote it, and after writing it. And I think that's the part that I like the most about journaling. Even if I don't immediately go back to a memory like I used to pretty much on command, if I read about something, that picture revives and I can see it all over again. Now, if it's a thought that's not necessarily a result of something experienced, the same effect takes place. Like if I were to imagine something like, I wonder what it would be like to have a lemon-based kind of pizza. I know what image, what picture I had in my mind right now, and what smell I even imagined in a pizza with lemon of some sort. But I have never actually tried to incorporate lemons into a pizza. So that's not a memory that I'm actually recording. That is a memory that I'm considering creating. I just have the memory of the idea of it. Does that make sense? Cool. And then, interestingly enough, I'm just curiously reading some of the replies. Someone called Vivienne says, Is this the same dilemma where some people read and cannot see a vivid movie playing in their head? I literally just described that. And then Amy replies with, yep, can't picture anything in my head and I have never had a dream. And someone called Lois goes, I have a silent brain in all senses. It's called aphantasia and affects an estimated 2% of the population. I cannot say I have heard of that before, but it appears that Miss Amy was saying that that is the thing that she was diagnosed with in the year 2020. And that it has been a very life-changing experience. And yeah, I'm so glad that the algorithm gods, I guess, fed me this tweet, because I would have never ever thought of that. I would have never considered that. I can understand if it's something more in the visibly, openly disabled kind of category. Say someone with autism, I think would have a more amplified sense of imagination in some senses. But in other instances, maybe someone with something that may be the opposite of that. I can imagine some kind of mental disability taking part in a person's inability to have such a ability, if I may have to say so again. But what I liked about this tweet in particular is that it put me at ease in a weird way, in an unexpected way. And it's because observing that someone cannot do that versus someone like me, I can vividly remember, in the case of music, especially if it's music I have been listening to for over 10 years, I pretty much know every single part of the song. I know the vocals, I know the piano, I know the bass parts, and the bass is actually pretty hard to hear sometimes. I had trouble hearing bass parts until I was listening to piano covers of my favorite songs on YouTube, and I observed that the bass part is what the person was using for their left hand low pitch sounds, which makes sense. That's what the bass is, the lower range. But I said, where is the person nailing this rhythm so well from? And then when I started peeling tracks apart even more and applying what I learned from music theory, it all made sense to me. I can remember even the harmony parts, and the harmonies I'm always going to have a bias toward, because I wish I were a backup vocalist, a harmony singer specifically. I felt peace because something like that made me kind of go easy on myself, because sometimes I get too excited about these things, and maybe me being lost in my strong imagination so much is what makes me susceptible to being extra sensitive. The things that I describe on video, that I sense and foretell and can see with so much clarity and with an increased level of detail, I wish I could figure out if a person like this has sensations like that, because maybe someone who doesn't have this happening to them is less predisposed to having a busy, tired, overworked mind. Whereas for me, last night I stayed up until 3 a.m. and I did not have the intention to do that, but I just had a thought that kind of reproduced another thought, and it led to another thought, just layers and layers of thoughts. They weren't negative thoughts, but it's an imagination that I wish I could turn down sometimes, but I just don't know how to, and that's what keeps me busy. And especially at nighttime, when the environment is so favorable for me because it's quiet, my strength in the mental department when it comes to how vividly I hear, remember, picture, and process things, then sometimes I wonder if that's just something that it's such a strong power in someone like me that I just need to learn to control. But that's not necessarily true, because I know people who have the same ability as me when it comes to hearing a tune in their mind, but they don't necessarily have the same struggles that I have. See what I mean? So this is what fascinated me about this topic, because it's something I never considered before, I wasn't aware of, never would have thought it's a thing. And now that it is, it just opened a new world of questions and curiosity and probabilities for me. So if you guys happen to be a person like that, a person who actually cannot hear things in silence in your head, exactly how sound is supposed to match it, if sound were being produced corresponding to it, then let me know. Because I get the feeling that maybe one of you out there is like that and you have been there the whole time and I never got to know that about you. If you know somebody, then yeah, tell me what it is that they described and how they realized that this is something that they just couldn't do. Because now I'm telling you, I just want to explore this deepest as I can, but I'm not going to necessarily research it. I would rather wait until I actually ran into somebody who's like that, and then I'll go the Zam route and start asking my questions. I could tweet at this person, and I did. I just shared what it is that I experienced. I'll read it to you guys real quick. I said, most of the day, any given moment, there's a song I'm hearing silently. Right now, prior to seeing your tweet, the song in my mind, vocalizations and everything, was the Dragon Ball Super OST Blue Saiyan theme. That choral music was just playing in my mind for some reason, and I hadn't heard that in months. It's been a while since I heard that tune. Choral songs tend to take over most often for me. No need for humming, but it's soothing. And usually when I'm at work, this is gonna be pretty symbolic for you guys, but when I'm at work, very often, Lacrimosa by Mozart is the song playing in my mind. But other times, it's overpowered by the Evanescence version of Lacrimosa. And then those are the vocalizations that if I feel like humming to soothe myself, that's what I'll start doing. Well, there you guys have it. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please let me know your thoughts on this one, and I'll see you soon. And if this is something you knew was happening, when did you discover that this was a thing? Because for me, I was today years old. It really feels like something that would be inherent to kids, and it grows with you and maybe even gets stronger as time passes.